welcome back to my channel. I never know how to start these videos because it's always the same phrase as like, I'm really excited for today's video, or as you guys know by the title, I don't know how to start these videos, so I'm just gonna jump right in. We are doing reading fantasy for a week. I have a bunch on my TBR, so it's not really hard to choose from. I'm not gonna buy any book, I swear on it, even though I just recently did a book haul. Yeah, we don't have to talk about that. I'm gonna start with To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. I chose this one to be the first one because it is a standalone, so I don't have to risk reading a series or starting a series and really wanting to continue a series and then going out and buying another book. This is a book about a siren and a prince. Basically like a pirate prince that kills sirens, so we definitely got some enemies to lovers trope going on. It is a Ariel retelling. I have a heart for every year I've been alive. That is what a line. That is the first sentence of the book. I have a heart for every year I've been alive. Princess Laura is siren royalty and the most lethal of them all. With the hearts of 17 princes in her collection, she is revered across the sea, until a twist of fate forces her to kill one of her own. To punish her daughter, the Sea Queen transforms Laura into the one thing sirens loathe the most: a human. Robbed of her song, Lyra has until the winter solstice to deliver Prince Elian's heart to the Sea Queen or remain a human forever. The ocean is the only place Prince Elian calls home. Even though he is heir to the most powerful kingdom in the world, hunting sirens is more than an unsavory hobby. It's his calling. When he rescues a drowning woman in the ocean, she's more than what she appears. She promises to help him find the key to destroying all of the siren kind for good. But can he trust her? And just how many deals will Elian have to broker to eliminate mankind's greatest enemy? It sounds really interesting and it's a standalone, so it won't leave off in a cliffhanger. I'm kind of in a mood for a short fantasy. We're gonna jump into this. So far I'm really enjoying this. I'm only on chapter 4, but I wanted to talk about something because I didn't know how this was gonna work out. I knew it was gonna be enemies to lovers, but I find it really interesting that we have a female character that is the villain basically, and a male character that's the hero, rather than like a morally gray male character and a female heroine that's trying to save the world or her people and all that kind of stuff that's very typical to fantasy books. But this one is really interesting because she is seen as the villain because obviously she's ripping hearts out of people. She is a siren and that's what they do. But I'm really intrigued to see how we're gonna have a villain female character. I'm not trying to update you guys on anything right now, but I wanted to talk about this one scene that just happened. It's literally our main character's meeting for the first time, and it's not spoiling anything, but I want to read you this because I just found it so funny that this is their first meeting. A sudden change from the innocent girl to something far crueler, almost murderous. I recoil, but for once I'm not quick enough. The girl raises a shaking hand and brings it down across my cheek. Hard. I fall back. She's smirking, a ghost of satisfaction painted on her pale, pale lips before her eyes flutter closed and her head hits the deck. Bro. She... like, they don't even, like, talk or anything. Like, they don't have any type of conversation or anything. She just smacks him. No explanation. I actually laughed out loud. Like, it caught me off guard. I did not think she was gonna do that, but... oh my god, so funny. Quick update, I didn't get a chance to read that much before I left, and now it is almost midnight and I wanted to read. I am currently on page 133. A reasonable amount of stuff has happened, and I think pacing of it is really nice. I will say when I left the house I was really into the book, and I was really excited to come back to read more because I was just constantly thinking about the book. basically. I was really intrigued on seeing how it would progress and what was gonna happen. As for my other thoughts for it, it's exactly what I expected. Like, obviously it's a standalone fantasy book, so it's not gonna go super in depth, but I will say that the world building and the plot of this book is pretty good, and it's constantly kept my attention this entire time. I wouldn't say it's a cozy fantasy because obviously it's not cozy. There's a lot of murder, there's a lot of death, but it feels really fun. It feels fun to read. A lot has happened in such a short time, but then also not feel like it's been rushed. I'm really enjoying it so far. I think this is going to be a pretty good rated fantasy book. I will say what I really like about the storytelling is the world building is really cool. There's so many kingdoms, but like it doesn't feel overwhelming, and it's really fun that each of the kingdoms have kind of like a theme going on. I don't know, I just think it's like a fun little theme for each of the kingdoms, and there are other kingdoms like of ice, of love, of yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a fascinating kind of world building, I guess. Their little band of pirates and friends are so funny. Like the way they banter and kind of like go off one another when they're joking or being sarcastic. The little found family is so cute. It's giving me very much Six of Crows vibes, as in like found family. Don't be crazy. It's not Six of Crows, but it's the banter and the found family aspect of it that like reminds me of the Six of Crows. Hi guys. I haven't really gone to read anything today. What time is it? It's like 10:55 p.m. You guys saw the whole clip of like me waking up, ready to read, start my day. I didn't read at all. I've been cramping all day and it's just been miserable. But I'm feeling a little better now and I wanted to read a little. We're gonna jump right back into it. I only have like 100 pages left. I wanted to get finished today. Hopefully, maybe tonight, but who knows. I might start feeling miserable again. Also, this jacket has so much like lints on it. It's irritating, but whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna start reading and I'll let you guys know. I'm really enjoying it still though. Like if you want a quick dose of fantasy, I will say I just got to chapter 27, page 219. One thing that I really like about this book is that like the pacing is really good, and just because the book is small doesn't mean things have to happen really quickly or like everything goes well for them, because obviously they have a quest, mission, whatever it is that you want to call it. They have to complete it. You would think that in one book most things would go their way, but I like how the author doesn't make it so easy for them to complete this task, but then it also doesn't feel so overdone or like repetitive and annoying. Kudos to Alexandra Christo. It's funny because I'm talking to you guys, but you don't see my mouth. I tried my best. I really did. I tried my best to read as much as I could, possibly finish the book, but I cannot. I am too tired. I just finished To Kill a Kingdom, and I like this book so much more than I actually expected to like it. I have like a love-hate relationship with standalone fantasy books because I feel like it would be so hard for an author to fully flesh out a fantasy world and characters and plot to make it interesting and not too rushed. So I never really give standalone fantasies a try. So I was really honestly pleasantly surprised to read this book and really like it. I think I'm gonna rate this book 4 stars. Overall, I had a really fun time reading this story. I struggled so much to decide what the next book was gonna be. I have a bunch of fantasy books on my TBR that I should read, But you guys may know this. It's been really popular. Everyone's been talking about it. Everyone's been reading it, and everyone's been raving about it. And I've been dying to read it because it has dragons, and I love me some dragons. Like, ever since Throne of Glass, oh my god, I just love the concept of having a dragon and like being bonded with a creature like that. So yeah, I decided on Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and I am so pumped to read this book. Bro, I'm on page 39 and I'm already sad. I feel like I shouldn't be sad. It's not that deep. Alright, update time for Fourth Wing. I think I'm on page like 150 something. Hold on, let me check. Still just reading it on my Kindle because it is still out of stock everywhere, and it won't be arriving till like the end of July. I'm on page 153, and I wanted to talk about a few things. First off, I want to say that I'm really enjoying this book. You're following the main character, and she is basically in a school for dragon riders, and it's just fascinating because a lot of the world building is coming from teachers that are also teaching our main character all the minuscule and like very fine details of riding a dragon and what comes before and all the training for it. I really like how Violet, our main character, is kind of seen as like really small and fragile and delicate. Like, she has a body that is easily broken, but she has the courage and the bravery of someone that isn't. You know, like, she's not stupid. Like, she knows that she's really fragile, but she's so smart, and she uses her intelligence to kind of help her survive in this school, in this Hunger Games, Harry Potter school. She's really entertaining to follow. Like, she's quirky. Wow, quirky. I cannot believe I just used quirky unironically. She is just a really interesting character, and I feel like she has a really good background to go off of for future books. I also really enjoy the morally gray characters and plotline in this. I really like when a plot throws two enemies. Like, they are truly enemies. Not like, oh, they hate each other just because they're on opposing sides. No, they're enemies. It is so well written, and I really like the plot that they are seen as the bad guys, but you can also sympathize with them and empathize with them. Guys, it's like 12:30. I am currently on 224, and this book is so entertaining. You guys know, like, it's about dragons. The one thing I wasn't sure about this book was how the relationship was gonna be with the dragons and the riders, since it's such a like big deal and it was so talked up. I really like how Rebecca Yarros wrote this. Like, the dragons have personalities of their own. I've laughed out loud at least 3 times in the span of like maybe 10 pages. It's like almost 2 a.m. and I'm about to head to bed, but I wanted to say that I don't know how I feel about the plot of how the two main characters are being forced to be around each other. That's all I'm gonna say, because I don't want to spoil anything, but like that plot line of why they have to be around each other, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, it feels a little bit like forced and like reaching for something, but I think I'm just gonna sleep on it and I'm gonna think about it more. But still a fun book. Update time for Fourth Wing. I am currently on page 345, which is like halfway through the book. There's a few things that I want to talk about. I still really enjoy the book. I just don't think it's gonna be a 5-star anymore because there are some things that are a little cringy, for a lack of better word. Sometimes the dialogue reads very YA sometimes, and this is considered to be like a new adult fantasy romance book, but it feels very YA with the way these characters talk to each other sometimes and how the interactions kind of play out. That kind of makes me like, ugh, like it gives me like a slight ick, but it's not that bad. And then for the dragons, I remember saying that I really liked the personalities of the dragons, and I still do. Fun to kind of know what they're thinking about, but it's not what I imagined, I guess. It just feels very forced sometimes, and a little, again, for the lack of a better word, a little bit cringy because it's categorized as an adult fantasy. I was expecting more high risk and like strong emotions. Now that I'm halfway through this book, I enjoy the read. I love the world building. It's like a really fun fantasy world to read, but I don't feel any high stakes. Like, I was really prepared for the high stakes. The Infernal Devices, Akatar, Six of Crows, like the Nightborn duology, like the tragedies in those series, it doesn't have to be a super positive thing, and I'm just not getting that from this book right now. Here are the things that are happening. She's just in school and it's just moving along. Like, it's really fun to read because she's the main character. I don't feel that urge of like, oh, she's gonna die. You know, like, she's the main character. She's not gonna die. So I don't feel nervous. But I would like to see something happening where I'm like, oh my god, like, what's gonna happen? Like, please, please, please don't let them die. Please don't, like, you know what I mean? I want to feel some high stakes. That's what you were waiting for? Literally no warning. He gave no warning. What is going on? What does that I literally thought that was where it was going, but the fact that I was right. Oh my god. That is hilarious, actually. Why is this part of the book? This is so funny. Oh my god. This man is brutal. I can't tell if I like Xander. I like him better than any other character, but I don't know if I like love him. Like, I like him, I don't know if I love him. That's the better way of saying it. Is taking forced proximity to a whole nother level, and I there's like a very fine line of controlling and annoying and hot and okay, you know? Very fine line. Walking a very fine line here. Okay, I am currently on page 538, which is 81% of the way through the book. My last update, I think, was a lot more negative than anything, and I want to come back and be like, you know what? I'm still really loving the book. I think what we really need to keep in mind is that if you're going into this thinking it's a really like high fantasy, high stake fantasy, don't. Yes, people are dying. Yes, it's high stake, but it's not like you're super nervous the entire time on who's dying and what's going on. Like, you know our main characters are gonna live. It's fine. Like, it's not that stressful. With that being said, I also still have like 130 pages left, and we all know fantasy tends to pick up speed and shit usually hits the fan towards the end of the book. So I am still kind of on the wary side, like, oh, what's gonna happen? It's super easy to comprehend. I think the only hard part about it is probably like the names and the places in this world, which is pretty typical of a fantasy book. I was not expecting the romance to be as prevalent as it is. I can understand why this is kind of considered a fantasy romance rather than just like, oh, a fantasy book with a subplot of romance. No, it is very much a fantasy romance. With that said, I am really enjoying the romance. I know my last update I was talking about how cringy everything was, like there were some interactions and the way people acted and how they talked, it felt a little cringy. Now I feel like it's gone down a little bit. It's not as cringy. I can read it without being like, ugh, like ick. You know, I can read it and be like, okay, whatever. I also have been really kicking my feet and giggling at this romance. If you guys really like romance in fantasy settings, I think this is a really enjoyable book for you. But again, if you're looking for like Lord of the Rings kind of fantasy, high fantasy kind of situation, this is not it. I am still really enjoying the fantasy aspect. The dragons are really fun. The war and the like dragon riding school is a really fun aspect, so I'm still really enjoying it. Really still highly recommend if you enjoy fantasy romances. It's so fun. I find myself reading and not being able to put it down sometimes because it's so good. It really just grabs you and then it like leaves you with like little crumbs for the next chapter and you're like, oh, I just have to read the next one. 130 pages left, so I will catch you guys when I finish the book, most likely. Like I saw it coming. I guessed it. But I'm still so annoyed. Coward. Coward. No, 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 no freaking way. That is how the book ends. Ah! Guys, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? The last 100 pages of a fantasy book is always what gets you. Always. This book is getting a higher rating just because of the last 100 pages. 100%. Because that was insane. I was really happy. I was loving it. I was eating it up. And then I was crying. I was sad. And I was like, what the heck? And then I felt angry because I felt betrayed. And then I was sad again. And then I was like chilling, like, okay, cool. I can see where this ends. And then bam, last sentence. Rebecca Yarros really said, oh, I'm gonna leave this for you right here, you know, just gotta sprinkle that in and you're gonna have to wait for the second book. When does the second book come out? I'm gonna give Fourth Wing a 4.5. In the middle of the book, it was a little bit cringy. It was a little bit like a YA Wattpad-y, but the more you read, it got better. The reason why I also did not give it a little bit higher is because this is a 5-book series, I think, and we all know the first book is all about the world building, all about the characters. I just know that the next books are gonna be so much better, so I'm giving that little bit of room for the next books. I did some research also and I saw that like Violet is a representation of someone that has specific ailments to their bodies. I think a lot of people were saying POTS, but I don't have that condition, so I can't really speak on that. But I think that Rebecca Yarros as an author using Violet to represent people with conditions is really, really heartwarming, and like I love to see it and I love to learn more about this because there are things that we don't know about, and just being able to read about a character that has real life conditions that a lot of people do suffer with feels nice to be learning. I don't think I really got bored. Even at the cringy moments, I never got bored with the book. So I'm really anticipating the next read. I'm like, do I want to give it a 4.75? Okay, you know what? I'm changing my rating 4.75 because I can't think of anything that bothered me other than the like middle portion of the cringe. I decided on Serpent and Dove by Shelby Marin. I actually started the book already. I'm only like 26 pages in, and this is a book about a witch and a witch hunter in a marriage of convenience story, and I thought it would be fun. But I've never read a trope where the book is based off of strangers being forced into a marriage, which I think this is what it is. But the reason why I chose this one over Caraval first is because of the back. It says, bound as one to love, honor, or burn, a witch and a witch hunter thrust into holy matrimony. There was only one way such a story could end, a stake and a match. I don't know, I found that like pretty intriguing. And then up here, which is the main reason I picked it, is because Sarah J. Maas said, a brilliant debut full of everything I love. And you know what? If Sarah loves this, I'm sure to love this. I'm excited. It's 400 pages almost exactly, and the words are pretty big on the page. So, and depending on when I finish this, maybe I'll pick up Caraval as well for this video, but we'll see. From what I'm reading so far is that like there are witches in hiding, hence our main character, and then the witch hunters, which are basically like organized religion, the church. It's just a little interesting. Our main character is pretty feisty. I kind of like that. Not much to talk about because I'm not that far in yet. Okay, I'm back because, oh my god, I just want to talk about the patriarchy. I literally stopped and then read one page and got so mad. Our little church believes in the Holy Trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and then the witches believe in the three goddesses, Maiden, Mother, and Crone, and it is basically the embodiment of femininity in the cycle of birth, life, and death. And this man says, "'Tis blasphemous, of course, as if God could be a woman." Have you met God? Have you met God? You don't know. Like, it's such a silly little trivial thing, but like, ugh! It's not our main male character, at least. I can see how this character development is gonna play out. Hopefully. Hopefully, if it doesn't disappoint. On page 103, this scene made me... I love the girl main character. Like, I love her. I wish I could tell you guys exactly what happened. That was a good laugh. Alright, update time. I am on page 273. I am enjoying it a lot right now. It's taken place in France, so like there are a bunch of French words that I don't really know what it means. I really like the world building that it gives and how interesting the setting is. And it has the concepts of, you know, church against witches. And you know, in history, people were burned at the stake and killed, murdered, basically, if they were suspected as being witches. Now in this world, it's the same concept. The church is basically hunting down people that are witches and murdering them, burning them at the stake. They end up getting married by force, untimely circumstances, and really unfortunate events that happen, so they get married. And I think it's fascinating to see that like the society that they're in, where even though they don't like each other because they're married, he treats her like a wife and like is more respectful, more territorial. It's very odd to read. Like, they don't know each other per se, but he still is territorial. It's so weird. I don't know. It's weird. I can't tell if I like the male main character or not just yet. And I'm like, I'm pretty far in. Like, he's likable, but he just has really bad viewpoints. Like, he hates witches and he thinks that they are not people, they are unnatural and they deserve to die. So it's really hard to read, and it's really hard to find characters like that likable. As a character, he doesn't have that much depth just yet. One thing that I've noticed, the romance is slowly starting to develop between these two characters, and if I'm being honest, I like their banter with one another, but I don't see how the romance is blossoming, to be honest, because they have these interactions where they're just talking and like there's no act of falling in love. There's no, I guess, action, you know, like nothing has happened where it kind of shows why they're falling in love. They just kind of do, just because they're married. And I feel like the excuse of, oh, back then you just get married, you get courted and you get married, and then you slowly, hopefully, fall in love with the person you marry, right? Like, this is kind of feeling like that. Like, they got married and now their relationship, because they're married, they have to like each other and have a good relationship. But obviously there's lies in between, but it doesn't feel real. Like, it doesn't feel like true affection, even though they like seem like they like each other. I don't know, like, it just doesn't feel real as a reader. Alright, I finished Serpent and Dove. I also edited some of this reading vlog and realized how little b-roll I took for this reading vlog, especially for Serpent and Dove. I just got really busy with the move, so I forgot to film b-roll, but let me know if you guys like it or like don't like it and you enjoy the b-rolls. But yeah, I finished Serpent and Dove. I don't know exactly how I feel about it. I will say I enjoyed it, but there were some things that I didn't enjoy about it, such as the forced marriage thing. I got it, I got on board, I was okay with it, and I was like, okay, like it's forced proximity basically, like they're gonna be forced to interact and work together, and the romance is gonna come from there, and then there's gonna be a lot of tension because she's a witch and he's a witch hunter, so like she's trying to hide from him, and I was eating it up. I was really enjoying that concept, but the way it played out, I wasn't a big fan of. They would talk about falling in love, and it felt kind of instant lovey. It was a slow burn when you consider how far in I was in the book before they kind of like admitted to each other that they liked each other. But at that point, I was still feeling like, well, where did this come from? You know, like they interacted, they bantered, they were playful in a way where people that have attitudes with each other are playful. I was enjoying that. I was really enjoying the like sarcasm they had with one another. But it felt like the excuse of them being married was played out so much, especially Reed. He is very much a traditional man, follows the church, follows these rules, and it made it seem like he only wanted to make the marriage work because it is a holy matrimony. It was so 180. Like one second they're enemies and they hate each other, and then the next second, oh, but like we're married and we want to make it work. It just seemed a little odd to me. That was my main problem with the book. Other than that, I enjoyed it. I didn't get bored. Things were constantly happening. I will say there were plot twists that I did not see coming. Not because I guessed wrong, but because I just wasn't thinking about it, like just never came to mind. So when it happened, I was like, oh, okay. This is a trilogy. I am gonna pick up the other books because I do like the characters enough. It's a fun book to read if you want to read about witches, and I'm looking forward to seeing the other covens and other types of witches and how all of this like politics within the witch world plays out. I'm gonna rate this book a 3.5. I had moments that I really enjoyed. It made me laugh, but yeah, the kind of instant love feel, even though I was a little more than halfway through the book, shouldn't be happening. That was what really turned me off. But other than that, yeah, it was just minor things. But now that we're done with the video, I hope you guys enjoyed my very long video for reading fantasy. I said it was gonna be like a week, but it was definitely a lot longer than a week. And thank you guys again for watching. Bye!